am I looking at dryer lint on the monitor?
Well, that's wool, not dryer lint.
All right.
And we're going to do a short tutorial on needle felting a hand.
Okay. All right. That sounds like fun. Why a hand in particular?
Oh, well, early on, it was something that I had to learn. And then when I was teaching workshops, I had some students ask me how I made my hands.
All right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, hands are tough. You got to study those.
Yeah.
Do you have any basic how to needle felt hand tips that you want to start with?
Oh, yeah. Use reference.
Oh, good.
Whether it's going to be realistic or cartoony, it's always helpful.
That's good. Same thing with drawing. You know, however it's going to end up, you want to rely on those anatomical fundamentals.
Right.
So hand tip number 1, never hurts to use reference.
Right.
So you're needling a bunch of wool together. It looks like you're making the wedge shape of the hand, the palm of the hand here.
Exactly.
Which is how I think you usually start.
Right. Yeah. So that's another good tip is to break down the shapes and you make the parts from there and then you can attach.
So tip number 2, the hand is complex, but you can break it down into the simple shapes and then assemble them later.
Exactly.
All right. Seems pretty simple. Let's watch and see what happens next.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now, when I was compiling the videos that you gave me, the
Yeah.
footage, I asked you what you were doing here, and you were shocked that I had not seen you do this before because you do this every time you make a finger.
Yes, it's true. And it's my third tip, and that's to use a lollipop stick to make the fingers.
All right.
You wrap the wool around the stick.
Okay.
And then you can use your fingers to start the felting process by twisting and rubbing the wool together.
Okay.
And then you slide it off and you have a finger shape.
And it's kind of worked into itself?
Right. You still have to needle it after, but it's a start.
All right. I have never seen you do this in my entire life.
That's funny.
I guess I don't pay enough attention.
That's okay.
All right. Tip number 3, when making fingers, lollipop stick.
Yes.
Okay, so this would be a good time to talk about different types of hands and different levels of details because you have made other figures and other hands, and they have had varying levels of detail.
Oh, yeah. Now, these were done years ago when I first started.
Right.
But they're good for examples here.
Okay.
The little vampire that I needle felted, he has a basic hand that's a mitten shape and a thumb. So that's a good place to start.
It's very simple.
Right.
And that's where you started.
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't need a lollipop stick for that one.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the invisible man has 3 fingers and a thumb.
Okay.
So a little bit more detail, but he has noodly fingers.
It's like a cartoon hand.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right. And that's the same for the Ichabod hand that I felted. It's very cartoony.
Right. I like to call those hot dog fingers.
Right, exactly. And then the Bigfoot that I felted, he has the most detailed hand out of all these examples. And his fingers have the finger creases, and then there's definition of the muscle shapes in the palm.
All right. And I know that you said you were going to go a little bit farther with the detail in the hand that you're working on today.
Oh, yeah.
Just to show what can be done.
Right, exactly.
All right, good. So that would be like felting tip number 4 for hands. Not all hands are the same.
Right.
Okay. So what are you, thickening up the top of the palm here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm adding more wool there, so there's a good foundation to attach the fingers to it.
Right, because since you're putting a little detail in this palm, there's a few meaty parts, like the top of the hand under the fingers.
Yes.
And then that big meaty root of the thumb.
Oh, yeah.
And then the section along the outer edge that I believe is called the karate chop surface.
Right.
All right, then you're going to add all that stuff in.
Going to add all that in.
Okay. That had better be a family-friendly finger, young lady.
It is. It's the pointer
Jeez.
finger. And we're going to attach it to the palm. And you leave a little bit of the fluff, the unfelted wool at the end so that you have it to attach to the palm.
All right.
And then you just do one finger at a time until they're all attached.
All right, so it's not complex.
Right.
So really, hand felting tip number 5,
Yeah.
take it one step at a time and don't stress out.
Right.
All right, so that's a good basic looking hand.
Yeah.
With the exception of the fact that this has the correct amount of fingers, this is very much like the Ichabod crane hand that you showed earlier.
Right. And now we can add some detail.
All right. All right, so it looks like we're in the home stretch since you're putting in some of the detail that goes a bit beyond what you showed in the other examples.
Right, yes. So you can add some detail to the fingers by hammering in the creases at the knuckle.
Okay.
And then you can even add some more wool to it that is a shade or two darker to add more definition.
Okay, yeah. So like any sculpture, you can use light and shadow to your advantage.
Right.
Because those creases will show as creases. But
yeah, right.
if you really want to hammer the point home, put a darker wool in there.
Exactly.
Cool. And now we're on the back of the hand.
Right. Yeah, so you can add knuckles to those fingers.
Little lumps of knuckles.
Exactly. And then hammer in for the tendons.
So grooves and hills of tendons.
Exactly, with the needle and some extra wool, too.
All right, that is a lot of detail.
Yeah.
And really, depending on your character, you might not want that kind of detail.
Oh, of course.
It all really depends on how soft you want the hand or how gnarled.
Yes.
All right, yeah, so you could go a lot less detail than this. You could actually go even more detail than this.
Oh, you can. Make it
But
bony.
this is a good showcase
of
how you can use detail when you're needle felting a hand.
Right.
So you're about done, and we'll talk about all those details when we show the final shots.
Okay.
But, as you know, I really can't bear to be out of the limelight for more than 5 minutes, and it's been like 6 already. So I took some time to make you a little something, to just throw together a little gift, the perfect thing for you to store your hand in. And here you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Just couldn't stand being out of the spotlight for all that time. My ego could not bear it. So I made your little gift. Now let's take a look at the final shots of your needle felted hand.
Yes.
So there he is. I think he looks pretty good.
He does, in his box.
Right. And it didn't seem like it was that difficult if you went step by step.
Right. Yeah, you break it down and it's pretty simple.
I do like how you felted in the lumpy musculature of the palm and fingers, but also you needled in the creases and wrinkles.
Right. Yes.
Which is a detail choice that you made.
Right.
But not necessary.
Not necessary.
Depends on the character.
Exactly.
I like this. This is a good looking hand.
Oh.
And I think an easy to follow tutorial.
Oh, thank you.
If I weren't afraid of poking myself a dozen times and bleeding out, I think even I could do this.
You could.